your girl, Deborah Franklin, and I am here live tonight with you. And yes, y'all, this is our last show for the season. I'm so excited because it is summer break, y'all. It is time to take a break. We getting ready to go on missions. And did y'all see? We are actually going to be launching our first book tour. The first stop on the Amplify Your Voice book tour is going to be where? None other than Nairobi, Kenya. Nairobi, Kenya, y'all, is going to be the first stop for this book tour. I can't wait. We are so excited about it. And that leads me right where I wanted to go for our motivational moment tonight. It's all about patience. And that's what part of your that has to be if it's not your superpower, it is a superpower that you need to start to latch onto. Because when you are patient, when you are able to wait, because the Bible tells us, wait, I say, on the Lord. And that's what you have to do. You have to wait. And you have to wait and then be patient in your waiting. Because sometimes in that patient time, in that silent time, you're able to hear clear from God. And one thing that let me tell y'all something. Let me just be transparent. Let me just break it down. When I tell you my patience has been tried for the past, let's say, 6 months, my patience has been tried on every hand. Most of y'all know I teach by day. When I tell you this had been the worst semester that I had with children acting cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in my classroom. I never had this problem. Patience. And then I had some other situations that were popping off. I had to have patience. Then I had somebody come for me. I had to have patience because at that point I knew when it started to happen more and more and more. I said, okay, God, I see you right now. You trying to test me. You trying to see how I handle this situation. You trying to see that you have given me a vision of where I wanted to go, but you're letting these distractions come to see if I'm going to get my vision off of where I'm going, because you are setting me up for greatness. And see, this is what you have to do when those trying times start to come, when you feel like you're operating in that season of nothing happening, when you feel like that everything around you is crashing and burning. You have got to automatically say, pause, and be like, okay, God, I know this is not a you, because you don't have the spirit of confusion. I know where I'm going, and I'm not going to act out. Because see, when you get impatient in a situation, you start to act out. You start to say things that you're not supposed to say. You start to do things that you're not supposed to do. Then you're operating in a tizzy. You're operating like this. Everything is going like this, because you weren't patient. Because the Bible tells us in Romans 8:25, but if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it impatiently. Wait for it patiently. Now, if the Bible telling us that hope means that you're expecting for something to happen. Hope is also your faith. You have hope and faith in what you are doing. God gave you a vision to be an author, to be a speaker, to be a coach, to be an entrepreneur, to own an oil business, to own a lawn care business. I don't care what it is. God gave you that vision, but you keep saying, well, if the lawnmower keep breaking, I can't mow no yards if the lawnmower don't. Be patient, because if you keep fixing the one you have, eventually you're going to get enough money to buy a new one. You see where I'm going with this? Sometimes we don't see the bigger picture because what we're going through is hindering us from seeing that we need to wait patiently and be able to do what God has told us to do, because God has instilled something in you that is great. It does not matter how old you are. It doesn't matter about your age. It doesn't matter about your skin complexion. It doesn't matter about who you know, who you don't know, because God is getting ready to do it. All you have to do is wait patiently. Wait patiently and show up where you're supposed to show up. Be the authentic you when you show up. Be authentic in what you are doing and how you are showing up, because that is what is expected of you. And I just want you to know. Now, if y'all agree with what I'm saying, and I see y'all here, go ahead and drop a 1 in the chat. Go ahead and tell me who you are and where you're chiming in from, because tonight we are getting ready to be patient. Because you know what? Let me tell you how I know that I'm talking about the right thing. Because y'all keep seeing this screen freeze, and I'm just gonna be what? Patient. Because see, I know what the end's gonna be. I know that we got the best. I got one of the hottest guests in town with me tonight. Now you ain't got to think you hot. Now see, because that's what y'all will come back and say. But I'm gonna tell you, I think she hot. I think she hot is what? Fish grease. Because I feel like everything that she has to say to me, because Okay, let me just talk about her as a person. Y'all might know her as a celebrity. You may know her as somebody that's an actress. You know, she does voiceover. She, you know, for those of us that grew up watching Good Times, she was on Good Times and on Roots Next Generation. You might look at her as that, but I look at her and I call her mentor because when I was going through a situation, and let me tell you how we met, and it doesn't even make sense how we met, and we just been friends and we have been close. Really, I call her my mentor. I ain't gonna lie. And she spoke a word to me, and she said, "You know, if you can do it for everybody else, why can't you do it for yourself?" I was like, well, I guess I can. And so that's what sparked me to even start to launch out and do the different things that I have been doing. When I need to ask questions, I got her phone number. See, this is why I tell everybody, don't drop names, because if you can't reach them in your, if you ain't, as the old folks would say, if they ain't in your Rolodex, you don't know them. And now, if they ain't in your phone, you don't know them for real. So I want you to think about that, guys. I want you to think about be careful and be open to the people that you meet, because you never know, that one person that you meet, that one person that you talk to, that one person that you ask a question to could be the one person that can help you catapult yourself to that next level. They can help you, and when you're when help you in ways that you'll never know, because they're gonna, if you are true to who you are, if you are authentic at who you are you all the time, not an avatar. Guess what? You're gonna start to meet the people that you need to help you do what you need to do. And I had this conversation with somebody today. We have talked for years. I didn't even know exactly all the things that she did. And then she started to say what she does. And I said, you know what? I have been patiently waiting and praying and did not know that God was going to give me the answer today of who I needed to be working with next. And this is what I'm saying: God is going to answer your prayer. You just have to be patient and wait. You have got to be patient and wait and have a good attitude while you doing it. You can't, this ain't the time, this ain't the season to be funky. I'm just trying to tell you. It ain't the season to be funky. It is your time to really think about what you say before you say it. Think about how you say it. Think about what is going on for real, because then you gonna make it to that finish line, and God is getting ready to blow your mind. Well, all right, y'all. Without further ado, I'm getting ready to bring my special guest on. Right after, let me tell y'all something. I don't even know what to tell y'all. You know what? Let me just go ahead and play this book trailer. And after that trailer, we're gonna come and bring her up, and we're gonna talk about what she doing, why she doing it, and baby, we getting ready to dig a little deeper into this book, because baby, it's gonna be fire. It's getting ready to blow your mind. Well, hey, let me
Hey,
introduce y'all.
Deborah, thank you so much for having me, girl.
Oh, you, honey, you know you can come on anytime. All you got to do is say, "Girl, load it up."
Well, I'm so excited to be here, and I was really taking in your message because it takes patience to do anything. When you're trying to get anything going, like with my new book, when you're trying to get anything going, you not only have to have the drive to do it and the stick to itiveness to do it and the perseverance and overcome obstacles and all kinds of things, but you have to be patient. You have to be patient with yourself. You have to be patient with others, and you have to wait until the universe is ready to give you everything that you need, because you're going to get it. Once you set your mind to it, you have the power of your intentions, and you can just go, 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 go when the time is right. But you never know when the time is right. So you have to be patient and wait on it. So I was listening to it and I was hearing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's so exciting to have you here with me because I don't think I've interviewed you in a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, now, and it's like I have so much fun when I do it. But and it's like, and I tell everybody, I just love your spirit. I love how you
Oh,
just
thank
wake
you.
up, and it's like I can call and ask you anything. You be like, Deborah, I don't think that's gonna work. Or go girl, you got it. So I appreciate having you in my corner. And see, this is what I tell everybody, y'all, sometimes you need that person that can just how can I say it, tell you yes and tell you no, and then be like, all right, then what you gonna do about it after when you figure it out. And I appreciate you for that.
Absolutely, because we need each other. We absolutely need each other, and especially as Black women, we have this double whammy. So we have to really get together and join our spirits, join our energies, and join all of our goodwill and everything that we have as dreams and goals and the tasks that we have to do every day to get them going and mesh those things together because that's a lot of power in us being sisters. And that's one thing about the book. That's one thing I loved about writing the book is that the women in 12 Stories High are all women who got dreams, they've got goals, they're going someplace, they have the power of their intentions, they know what they want to do with their lives, and through no fault of their own, they hit upon circumstances, just things come out of the blue. And it's not so much what, it sounds like a cliche, but it's not so much what happens to you, but how you deal with what happens to you. And all of them deal with what happens to them in different ways, but they find themselves on their own in the end. And that's when you find out what your real resources are. That's when you find out what courage you have, what bravery you have, what intellect you have, everything that you can call to your command, whether it be your education, whether it just be your guts, whether it be your imagination or anything that you've learned. That's when you find out what you really have to bring to a task when something comes out of the blue and knocks you down. And that's happened to all of us. And the way we deal with it is the way that we grow. And a lot of times, connecting to what you were saying about patience, a lot of times it's just not the right time for what we think is going to work for us. And so obstacles do come to us. And these ladies in the book, they have giant obstacles coming at them. And they're just intrepid. They just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's what I love about it, that I feel that it'll be inspiring for some of us because we get to the point where we really don't know where else to turn. We pray about it, we think, we meditate on it, we think about it, we take the next step that we can take. But sometimes we come to the point where our own resources really feel like they have run out. And we have to dig deep and we have to wait for the answers and we have to go to places that we haven't been before. And I love that idea of being pushed or pushing yourself and finding out what you really have to bring to bear.
And when you say being pushed, what do you mean by being pushed? Because a lot of times we think we're being pushed, but we really aren't. But what does being pushed really look like?
Well, sometimes it comes in the shape for the women in the book. It's really life and death circumstances because it's a mystery, thriller, and suspense short story book. So it's really life and death at stake. You know, for us, sometimes it can be a small thing
Mhm,
that pushes us. Sometimes, like I recently lost my mom.
mhm,
Well, I didn't lose her. She's still there. She's just on the other side of the veil. But she got her wings. And that has pushed me to go even further than I had thought about going before because I think about her and I think about all my ancestors and I think what it took to
mhm.
get, like, we just celebrated Juneteenth and just thinking about everything our ancestors went through to get us here, now, in this moment, when the political climate is so berserk, when there's so many things, when the economic climate is so bananas, when all these things are going on, they went through things that we cannot imagine, unimaginable trials to get us into this moment right now. And so we need to live up to that with whatever our dreams are, whatever our goals are, however we participate with other people or whatever. And sometimes we get comfortable
Mm-hmm.
where we are. We get comfortable, we get complacent, we don't reach for our higher selves because we're just thinking, well, it's okay how it is. And it's great to be grateful for where you are. But we think, oh, well, it's okay where we are. But we have so much within us. And it's just a matter of always going for the next step, always looking for the way, the best person that we can be for our families, for our neighbors, for our churches, for our workplaces, for anybody that's in our lives. And sometimes if we don't push ourselves, the universe will come, however we see our higher power, whatever we call our higher power, worship our
Um, you're having some audio issues, Beverly. I'm not sure what's going on. Something just switched. We couldn't hear you on that last part. The volume went down.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but it's really low. I'm not sure what happened.
Well, let me see. Let me hit my volume here. Can you hear me now?
No,
No?
it went weird.
Okay, I'm gonna turn
There we go.
and turn it back on.
There it is.
Is it on now?
You did. I don't know what just happened. Turn the mic off. Turn it. I don't know what
I
just
did
happened.
turn it off and then I turned it back on. Is it
Yeah,
on now?
let's try it again.
Okay. Okay. Well, ask me another question. I think
We still yeah, he said somebody just said fix your sound. We're trying Bishop, we are trying to fix it right now.
Oh my. Well, my mic is on.
So yeah, exactly. It does sound like shortwave radio. That's exactly what it sounds like. And it was doing well. I'm not sure what just happened.
Oh.
Okay, so we lost her, but we'll be right back. Tracy, you are so correct. Yes, getting out of your comfort zones can create such growth. And that is, I'm a firm believer in that because when we get out of our comfort zones, then we're able to do more. And uh it pushes us to be to go to another level. And when we get out of that comfort zone, we are challenged even more because it's almost like, yes, we do have to do it scared. And that's why we have to really learn to work together and build that point up. And and be able to communicate with each other, because and find someone that's also understands about being outside the comfort zone. Because so many times when you start to operate out of your comfort zone, you start to listen to those people that are the naysayers anyway. And so they be like, are you sure you're gonna do this? You don't need to be doing that. Why are you doing this? And those are the main ones that you don't need to be listening to at that time, because you're already trying to do something different. You're already trying to be someone else, be improve yourself. And so that's what we have to look at. Beverly's back. Let's see if we got her sound correct.
Hear me?
We can hear you now, lady.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I think there was some setting where it had something like automatically adjust your settings. I just saw. So maybe it just automatically
Just automatically did it.
adjusted me, whatever it is.
Something. But we
Yeah,
back.
we're back.
But
Ready to go.
it goes back to what we were talking about. It's patience. We gonna have patience, and we gonna make it through this.
Exactly. Maybe that was the universe telling us. You
We
better have some
That's what I get. They always say whenever you pray for something, God put you right in that situation that you got to show that you on point.
Exactly.
I'm so glad that you're back. So we were talking, you were talking about having to deal within. And then Tracy brought up a very valid point. Yes, getting out of our comfort zones can create such growth. When we were talking about growth, and I was like, that is so true. And so when have you had to get out of your comfort zone to create growth?
Well, you know what? Right now, I am the most out of my comfort zone. And to tell you the truth, I don't really have a small comfort zone. I think that's the thing, too. We have to adjust our comfort, the size of our comfort zone. You know, I read once one time where different people in different countries have different comfort zones as far as their physical space. So, and in the United States, we have the biggest area where we don't want people to encroach on our personal space.
Hmm.
And I think we have to think in terms of not so much always having a comfort zone. I mean, we have to set boundaries for ourselves in life because otherwise things will be totally out of control and we won't have any sovereignty over our own lives. But I think the best way I think about it is to expand my comfort zone
Hmm.
so that things that might be difficult to do or
Hmm.
things that appear as challenges or things that, I'm not a fear driven person,
Right.
but, fears come in and it's a matter of whether or not you allow yourself to give in to them or whether you allow yourself to be ruled by them, which I have never done. So I think in terms of a comfort zone, a lot of things that make us feel as though we're not in a place where we've always been
Hmm.
are just figments of our imagination.
Mm.
Because where we've always been is in the past. We can't change that. But we have a now and we have a future. We can only live in the now and we have a future and we have to be building that future. So I think the more expansive your comfort zone is,
Hmm.
so that you can be comfortable with change, because that's the major thing that sort of limits people's comfort zones is
Oh,
the fact that when a change happens, they
mm,
feel like, oh, I'm not comfortable with this.
right.
I don't want to do that. That's unfamiliar. I don't want to go there. But
Absolutely.
I think if we think more in terms of how we can expand the space in which we are comfortable,
I
whether that's physically, whether that's our environment, and then we can challenge ourselves and do things like people that, and and it's also self-talk because people will say, "Oh, I'm not creative. Oh, I can't cook.
well, Bishop
Oh, I
got
don't want to
a
teach.
point. She said she
Oh, I don't want to go outside the United States because I'm not comfortable there. Oh,
absolutely.
I don't like. Oh, I don't wear colors because I can't do that. You know what I mean? Oh, I can't change my hairstyle. I've always had it this way. But the great thing is, if you expand your comfort zone so that things that you haven't experienced before can come in without you feeling discomfort, then you
Absolutely.
can try new things. You can expand. You can become more of the person you're meant to be and do more of the things that you're meant to do. And I think that's what's great about the 12 Stories High women, because every one of them that came to me have had a gigantic change in their lives and they just flow with it. They don't even, they take the moment to realize this is happening. And
Hmm.
then they empower themselves to do something about it. And that's what I want to do with all of my writing, with all of my acting, with everything, is to have people feel inspired and
Hmm.
encouraged and empowered to deal with things that happen in their own lives.
Awesome. And we got some comments. And Bishop Andre Willis said the reason why they say those things, I think he's commenting about when I said the naysayers, is because they're afraid you will accomplish setting you far ahead of them. I totally agree. They want you where you are at ground level and never wanting you to grow or elevate to the next level. Misery loves company. Absolutely, totally agree with that. And then he said discomfort will push one to success if one sticks to what they're gifted to by God. They race. The race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to they that endure to the end. Stay the course, and you will win if you don't give up. Absolutely, success never comes with comfort. You are so right. Oh my God, you on point with us. We are all in the same place.
That's right. And you know, another thing, it's about self talk too, because
Exactly.
when you say, I also read one time where somebody said, I don't remember whether it was on the internet or where it was, or whether it was in
Mhm.
a book I read or whatever it was, but that people don't hear the word don't.
Mhm.
So when you phrase things to yourself about don't do this or don't do that, all your mind is hearing is what comes after the don't. So if you say don't go to social situations in which you'll feel uncomfortable,
Mhm.
don't let people into your life, all you're going to hear is the part that comes after. So if you rephrase those things and think about it in terms of what you do want to do, not what you don't want to do, what you do want to do and how you want to do it, and you write those things down and you think that way and you empower yourself so that when obstacles come in your life, whether they be life and death circumstances like the ladies of 12 stories high, or whether they just be the everyday things that you face in your workplace, or you face with your significant other, or you face, just going out buying groceries or whatever it is.
So basically, you're saying the power of positive self-talk is that we become more positive in what we're doing and having, I guess our buzzword for the night is having more patience with ourselves. This is what we need to be able to do in order to, I guess we can even say with some of the characters in 12 Stories High, just being able to have that positivity within yourself.
Absolutely. Because no matter what comes at you in life, if you're able to have a storehouse of your own security, like for instance, the first story in the book is about a woman, and the stories in the book are from women from 7 years old to 70 years old. And the first story is about a woman who's 70 years old, and her husband just comes home one day and says he doesn't want to be married to her anymore. And then before she can really adjust to that, he disappears. So instead of sitting on her laurels or just, getting in the bed and pulling the covers up over her head or whatever, she goes for an adventure. And it turns out that she has had a piece of property that was willed to her that she never even looked at because her whole life was about other orientations, about her husband, and it was about her three daughters, and
Wait a minute, she
so
said. Wait a minute, you said she.
she never even explored it because her comfort zone was so small that she took care of her husband and her children and her jobs and everything else, and everything was about other people, and she never even explored the resources that she had. So she goes on this adventure
Hmm.
to find this place, and that's how the mystery comes up. And she's able to, really branch out, and all kinds of things happen that are unexpected and it's kind of scary for her. And because she has a storehouse of strength, because she knows who she is, because she has a storehouse of strength, she can go ahead and continue to deal with them. The second story in the book is the 7 year old. And something terrible happens to her in the second grade. And she is accused of having done it, and she hasn't done it. But even at 7 years old, she's self possessed enough to go ahead and deal with it. And she's even stronger than her parents are in being able to deal with it. So I think the whole message of it is that no matter what happens to you in life, if you know who you are and you know what you're meant to do, no matter what people say, no matter how people treat you, and as Black women, goodness knows, we have a lot of obstacles to overcome in terms of the way other people see us and the way we see ourselves, which is heightened above the way in certain circumstances we're treated, or we are aided, or we are saved. Other women, maybe somebody in the white charger might drive, sort of ride up and just save them. But I think that gives us a certain strength
Hmm.
because we know that we always have ourselves to rely upon. And we've always had the church, as historically, we've always had the church
Hmm.
and had our faith to rely upon. And in the end, I think that's how we overcome so many obstacles.
Absolutely. Tracy just said, I got to get this book. Wish I had it for my upcoming trip. So since we've been talking about the book, when does this book drop anyway?
This book drops on July 10th. There's going to be a book launch. So everybody's invited to the book launch. It's going to be virtual. It's going to be online. Because that's one thing we've learned. I call it the Corona bonus. Because that's one thing we have really learned from, the travails we've been through in the last few years, is that there were so many different ways of dealing with things. And one thing that authors learned during the pandemic is that you reach so many more people. And that's the whole thing why we write, is to get our message out there and have more people read it and to give our gift through what we write. And so it's going to be a virtual launch. It's going to be on July 10th online, and everybody's invited. And I'm very excited about it. The hardcover, the paperback, and the ebook will be coming out then, and the audiobook will be coming out later this year,
That's
scheduled for around the holidays.
Tracy said July 10th, her 30th anniversary, her 30th wedding anniversary, and she said,
Oh, wasn't that sweet? Well, it's coming in, it's coming into the summer, so it's going to be a summer read, which would be really nice. People can take it to the beach with
yes,
the rest of their books, or have their time off, whatever they're going to do, snuggle up like I am in my reading nook over here. They can snuggle up in their reading nook, or they can,
I have to get
you
one of
know,
these. I
go
need
picnic or whatever people do outdoors. You know what I mean? Go
absolutely.
out somewhere hiking and find a nice spot and have something to read that's kind of exciting and kind of thrilling and kind of, you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
Have an adventure with other people.
that's awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, we got another comment. The don'ts is good if in fact they come with good constructive criticism. Understand first whether or not the don'ts is to defer you from hurt or defer you from success. You gotta weigh where and why the message where and why the message is coming from. I agree with that because sometimes
That is so true. I went to the Yale School of Drama, and I had one instructor, and he said something that really stood me in stead in my career. Sometimes when people sometimes people don't realize how harsh their criticism is.
mm,
So you can't take criticism personally. That's just number one. That's not what he taught me, but that's just number one. You can't take it personally because you never know where it's coming from. You don't know what their motivation is or whatnot. But normally, if people say something to you, even if it feels at first like it's hurtful or it's an affront or whatever, if you go beyond that and look at the moment that they're talking about, what he was talking about was when you get a director's direction, which may come across to some people as a criticism. If you look at that moment, they may not be telling you how to fix it the right way because they may be trying to tell you how to fix something. And people in your life may be telling you, whether it be your parents, whether it be your spouse or your friends or your boss or your employees or whatever, may tell you how to fix something. And they may not know the correct way for you to fix something, but it's always good to look at that place, to look at that moment, because there's something there that you can improve. Even if they perceived it in a way that wasn't the way you meant it, or even if their perception is off, there's always an opportunity when you get any kind of anything that even feels like a criticism to look at that place in your life, look at that moment, whether that's your personal life or whether that's your professional life or your spiritual life or whatever it is. It's an opportunity to look at that moment and say, what can I do to do that better, to use it as an introspection and to grow from that. However, their intentions may have been good or not. We all have our power of intention and it's very strong. But whatever their intention was, whether it was good or not so good,
mm.
it's a moment to grow.
Oh, absolutely. And so you've talked about a lot about our 12 ladies. And I wanted to ask you, what was the motivation behind creating these ladies and telling their stories in this book? Because we've talked about empowerment, we've talked about making decisions, we talked about going on an adventure. So, what really was the motivation behind bringing these characters to life in this book?
My motivation really was because so often we're just not seen as Black women, particularly, and women, and just people in general. A lot of times we go through life and we're not seen the way we hope to be seen. So, what I wanted to do was bring a cross section of women with all kinds of different dreams and different goals and different personalities and different ways of dealing with the world. And, because we all have our paradigm about the way we see the world. And what I wanted to do was to be able to delve into the different minds of different women and have them seen in a way that perhaps they're not seen in the everyday world. And for these women who are struggling to make something good come into the world, to have something happen to them that could drive them completely off their course, and to a certain degree and to a certain extent for a certain period of time, whether that's forever or whether that's just for a few weeks, they are maybe thrown off their course. But my motivation was to let people see inside of how things affect us. And one of the themes in the book is about the way that we're treated by police, which is obvious with the things that have happened lately with Sandra Bland and different people that have, people, we can be in our homes and get, shot through the window when all we're trying to do is just go in ahead and help people. At a hospital, which has happened, and I think people think of those things in a general sense. And I wanted to bring to the fore how that affects us in our everyday lives. Because if we see a police car pull up behind us, it's not, oh, there's the policeman, our friend, who is trying to help us now. There is a fear, even if we've done nothing wrong, there is a fear that affects the way that we can protect ourselves. And what happens to the women in the book is that they wind up having to protect themselves because they're not even willing to go to the police or ask for help because they think that could make the situation worse. Or it could be, the guilt could be down to them when they're not the guilty party, or they're directly accused of it, and therefore they're on their own to have to deal with it. And I wanted to bring out the point that in our everyday lives, these things affect us, not in a general sense of that, this is, the way policing needs to be changed or these things, but I wanted to bring about stories where people had this affect them right then. And these are women to love, to respect, to root for. So people can really see how these things are affecting people personally in their own lives and possibly derailing them if they don't have the strength and the temerity to go forward on their own.
I love it. I love it. I love it because when we start to think about going out on our own and as women, what can we do as women today? What is one thing you think that we could start to do to um create that space of growth, create that space? Because even if we're looking at the characters, how they decided to pull on their own strength to solve their issue, solve their problem, but what can we do now as women? We have so many hashtags going on, we have so many movements going on. What can we do today?
The
Just
first thing we need to do is know what we want. That's
whoa,
really an important thing. We
that
have to know what we want, and we have to be willing to know, we have to know what we're willing to do to get it. And we have to be willing to make those choices. And we have to be willing to set the goals. Once we have the dream, it's not just a dream that's sort of out there and amorphous. We have to set the goals. We have to figure out what the tasks are that will help us accomplish those goals. We have to set time limits on things so that we don't say, oh, well, someday I'll. A lot of us are living on someday I'll. And it's not, and the weather is not, it's not so kind here. The environment is not so good there. So I would say the first thing to do is to really look within ourselves and find out what we really want and why we really want it. And we have to set our priorities so that we're not chasing behind things that don't really mean anything in the long run. And we have to set our boundaries so that we don't have people and things encroaching in areas that are preventing us from doing what we want to do. And once we know what we want and why we want it, we can pursue it with that much more vigor. And we have to have confidence. You know, so many things come into our lives from day to day that can erode our confidence, whether it be our nearest and dearest or whether it can just be strangers. You know, you can go to Walmart and have some stranger erode. But we really have to go forth with confidence that we can do things. And then we have to constantly be acquiring knowledge. We have
Mm,
to educate ourselves. You know, we have the internet. There's nothing we cannot learn. We can go to YouTube and learn how to do just about anything.
mhm,
So we have to be constantly learning and acquiring the knowledge that we need to achieve our goals. But what it starts with is what do we want and what do we really want? Not does our family want,
mm,
not what do other people expect of us, but what do we really want and why do we want it? Our why is really very important because if we have small goals and we have small dreams that only benefit us rather than benefit a larger cause, you know, some of us we limit ourselves to ourselves. Some of us we limit ourselves to ourselves and our families, and that's great because you have to put yourself first because you can't do anything for anybody else unless you're intact. You know, you have to give from the overflow. You know, your cup has to be filled to be able to give to others. But the thing is, if our goal is too small, or our dreams are too small, or even just our everyday thoughts are too small, the universe is not going to try to help us that much because it's not going to benefit but the one person. But if we think about what we can do, you know, why we're doing what we're doing and not just for, you know, oh, this will earn me more money. Oh, well, I'll be able to get a new car or, you know, whatever material things are. If we expand our desires and our goals to things beyond the material and take it into our spiritual realm and take it into a higher calling and we
mhm,
know our purpose, these things drive us and bring fun to everything because we have a purpose. We know why we're doing what we're doing. We're not just going to work because we're going to work. We're going to work because we love it. We're going to work because it's going to help somebody else. It's going to give our gift that we've been given because we've all been given a gift. So we're
mhm.
going to give the gift that we've been given. And that's motivation, and that gets us up in the morning. That leads to success because we're not just driving ourselves and pushing ourselves and punching a clock and bored. We have passion. You
Absolutely.
know, and passion is what leads to great, fantastic things.
Absolutely. Because it's like you just said so much, all of that. And because you got to
Well,
it's
you're asking me some great questions.
it's like you got to know what you want, you got to know why you want it, and that's something I live in that space. And one thing that you said, and it's like you might not be dreaming big enough. But how do we know? How can we really how can we gauge that? How do we know that we're dreaming too small?
Well, you start by what makes you happy. I mean, one of the biggest goals in life is to be happy, and your happiness affects your health and everything else about you. So, one thing is to just explore new things, go out there and try new things. You know what I mean? Maybe if you've only lived in a small town, maybe take a trip and find out what other people in the world are doing with their lives. You know, maybe if you spent all your life thinking that you weren't a creative. Get out and draw something, make something, sew something, cook something. You know, maybe if you feel that you aren't outgoing,
Mm,
get dressed up and go network. Start networking. You know, fake it till you make it. Is the bottom line. You get out there and do some things and find out what it is that turns your crank. You know what I mean? If you're a couch potato, go out there and rent a bike. You know, go out and hike. It doesn't cost you anything to go somewhere to find the hiking trails around you and go out and find somewhere to hike. If you live in a big city, get out there where people, you live even in New York City, get out there where the people are, and get into it. Find what you, but the thing is, you already know what makes you happy. Now,
Wow.
whether or not you've done it or not, because you felt that it would, lead to success or it would bring you the things that you needed or your family needed, that's one thing. But we pretty much know what makes us happy. And we definitely know what makes us unhappy.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we shouldn't be participating in those things because they aren't going to get us anywhere and they aren't going to get anybody else anywhere. So that's where we can start, just finding out what makes us happy and trying new things until we find out that happy place. Because so many of us don't even, it's been so long since we've really been happy that we don't even know what happy
We
feels
don't even
like
recognize it.
anymore.
Don't
So
even.
just aim for the happy, look for the happy, and get around happy people. Get out from the mopers and gripers and people that they complain, not to crack on them, but you don't have to be around them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we got another good comment. But happiness is temporary, but joy is constant and eternal. Joy carries the passion and longevity. Oh, she's on point. You gotta say
Yeah,
so
joy. Joy is even beyond the happy. Joy is taking it to the next level.
absolutely. And that's why I like this comment so much. It was like, we want to be happy. We want to be happy. It just is what it is. That's what we want. But when
It goes back also to your patience thing because a lot of times we think it's like a light switch. We can turn things on and then turn them off. But sometimes what most of the time things are a process.
ooh,
So even if we're in a valley right now, if you happen to be in a valley right at this moment, like the ladies in the book,
mm-hmm.
they just hit a valley. They've been going on this hike and they hit a valley. Even if you're in that valley, it's going to take a process. I was just talking to a friend of mine, and she was talking about how she didn't know if why she felt the way she felt about certain things, but it seemed like she wasn't giving herself a chance. Because of a lot of changes going on. And it was like she wasn't giving herself a chance because she's a high achieving woman. She's a wonderful woman and she's high achieving. And it seems like sometimes we don't give ourselves a chance to go through the actual process. We expect that we should just be able to turn things on and turn things off. But sometimes it's a matter of discovery.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Because the matter of discovery is a powerful statement because even when we're talking about happiness and we're talking about joy, we're talking about our why. Some of us really need to take that time of discovery. And so, what would you say is I know we've talked about meditation before, and I know that we've talked about intention because I did go get the book that you told me to get. And what would that journey look like for us to get to that realization of what really makes us happy or what really gives us joy? How can what would be that first step?
Well, what I do, and I don't know, everybody has their own way that they go about things, you know.
Mhm.
Everybody's got their own method of finding what space that they want to be in, or they find themselves in a space that they don't want to be in, and sometimes they don't know how to get out of it. What I do is I meditate. I meditate and I listen. And I know a lot of other people are meditating. More and more people are doing that every day because there's just so much noise that comes in. There's noise from the news. There's noise when you go out. There's people constantly finding themselves in conflict politically and, social issues and all kinds of things. So there's just a lot of buzz, a lot of noise that comes in. And you have to be able to find the space where you're not listening so much to the noise, but you're listening for your own inner voice. And people do that in different ways. Some people like to soak in a bathtub with candles and, just give themselves a moment to rest and listen. And whatever that is, other people like to go out and they run. you know you run or you walk, or the other people go to the gym. You know what I mean? But the big thing is to always be listening to the inner voice, because that's your instincts. And that's one thing my mother always said to me every time I would say, so mama, what do you think I ought to, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, so what do you think about this, what do you think about that? And I miss her so much for that. But the thing is, she would always say, follow your instincts. You have great instincts. And I have a third eye. Ever since I was a child, I've been able to see things.
Hmm.
So I have to be able to harness that energy and be able to see it. But I believe we have it to one extent or another in all of us. And I think we might all have more of it if we just listen.
Wow.
Sometimes you just have to stop and listen. And sometimes you just have to ask. If you're at a crossroads, you know what I mean? If like when you're, it's some sort of an intersection on the street, normally we know where we're going. That's the other thing. You wouldn't get in your car and not knowing where you're going. You know what I mean? When you get in your car, you have a destination, you know where you're going. And yet some of us in life will do the same thing. We'll get in the car of our life and get behind the wheel, or worse yet, be in the back seat. Some of us are even in the back seat of the car. But you wouldn't get in your car and not know where you were going. So why would you live your life and not know where you're going? Because if you don't determine your life, something or somebody else is going to.
Yeah.
Whether that's somebody that's well intended toward you or somebody that's not. So it just pays to know where you're going, to think about it, and give yourself those moments where you can entertain those thoughts, and
Hmm.
where you can find yourself important enough in the world to actually give yourself the space and the time and the momentum to make something good happen.
I totally agree with you. And now I'm gonna. This got to be our last question because we've been on here, and I'm like, oh my
I
god.
know I'm just running my mouth, just running my mouth. In this space, that's what I'm supposed to do. Just run
Yeah.
my mouth, run my mouth.
One last question. As women, you talk about women empowerment so much. What do we have to do to give ourselves permission to take that break, to take that meditation? Because sometimes women, as women, we feel like we got to go out and save the world. We got to put the cape on. We got to do everything for everybody. Why is it? And I heard someone say this. Why is it important for us to give permission to ourselves to take that salah, to be able to just soak it in? Why is that important for us?
Well, I'll wind it up by talking about the women in the book,
Absolutely.
because when it comes to life and death, things become very, very clear. And that's a process that they go through in the book. Each woman has a challenge that they're presented with, that because it can affect their own life or the life of someone they love, they have to become very clear. And they find that they are enjoying that space of being clear about what they have to do and why they have to do it, because they feel the momentum is going in that direction, and they all change, because that's what we enjoy about books. We see people confronted with all sorts of conflicts, and they change, they evolve, you know what I mean? And it happens kind of magically in books, and that's one of the things that we like about heroes in books and movies and TV shows. And that's one thing about being an actress, is that you're constantly putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I would just challenge everybody to put yourself in your own shoes. Put yourself in your own shoes. A lot of times we wear other people's shoes because we love them, or because they're in the workplace and we think that that's something that we have to do. But I would just say, give yourself the gift of putting yourself in your own shoes and finding out what you can do for yourself, and finding out what you can do for the world. Taking a moment to challenge yourself, and whatever is going on in your life now, whatever challenges you may be facing, face them with courage and know that they're coming to you, that they're meant for you. to grow and to become more of yourself and to become the best person that you can be, because ultimately that's going to be what you want. This is the book. You can pick it up on July 10th. And I intend it to be a gift for you, and I hope it is a gift for you. And I want it to be a gift for you. And if you're feeling a challenge, just feel my love, feel Deborah's love, feel everybody that's on this call, all of our love together. And I just wish you the best.
You know, I appreciate you. You are just always that ball of light that we need. And Tracy said,
Oh, thank you so much.
she said, great words of encouragement tonight. Thanks for sharing. And look for validation from within first, and God will do the rest. Absolutely. Y'all, that is the best way.
Absolutely. And on that note, we leave everybody to live their best life. We're rooting for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that encouragement. Yes, indeed. Y'all, tonight,
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
you know,
And thank everybody for tuning in.
I know. Yes, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for your comments. Thank y'all for she's bad. Absolutely. Thank y'all for joining us for our last show for this season, and we'll be back in September. But y'all keep doing what you're doing. Stay encouraged. Give yourself permission to take that time to really understand your why. Because I'm gonna have a transparent moment now. Today, no, yesterday. No, yeah, no. Was it today? It was today or yesterday. I felt a release. I felt a release that I'm able to now go ahead and do some things that I had been putting off and putting off. But it's like this was the first time I ever felt like you're free. Go ahead and do it. You have served your time. You have done what you're supposed to do. And now you're supposed to go out and accomplish some new things.
Get out there and change the world.
Change the world, girl.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Have a
Thanks,
great night.
Dad.
We love you to life. It ain't nothing you can do about it. You know I love you. Have a great one. Peace.
Have a